It was supposed to be a fresh start. After years of battling PTSD and bouncing between noisy apartments and judgmental stares, I finally moved to a quiet cul-de-sac in a gated community called Rosewood Hills. Half-acre lots, manicured lawns, and silence so thick you could hear a squirrel sneeze 3 houses down. Just what the doctor ordered. I wasn't alone. By my side, like always, was my service dog, Tucker, a golden retriever with a heart of gold and the instincts of a guardian angel. Tucker had saved my life more times than I could count. He pulled me out of flashbacks, woke me from night terrors, and grounded me when the panic hit like a tsunami. He wasn't just a dog. He was my anchor. For the first 2 weeks, life was peaceful. I took Tucker on daily walks, nodded politely to neighbors, and started to believe I might finally breathe easy. That illusion shattered the day I found a bright yellow notice taped to my mailbox. HOA violation, dangerous animal off leash. Tucker sat beside me, leash clipped, tail wagging. At first, I laughed it off. Honest mistake, right? Wrong. That evening, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman standing on my walkway like she owned the pavement. Mid-60s, floral blouse, oversized sunglasses, even though the sun had clocked out hours ago. She didn't say her name, just pointed at Tucker and hissed, "That beast has violated 3 of our community codes. He's intimidating. I don't care what his vest says." I blinked. "He's a federally registered service dog." She snorted. "Fake vests are a dime a dozen. I've been president of the HOA here for 12 years. I know the difference between a dog and a threat." That's how I met Dolores Mason, Queen Bee of Rosewood Hills and self-proclaimed defender of neighborhood order. She wasn't just enforcing rules. She was defending her little empire. And I'd unknowingly stepped into her line of fire. Turns out, Dolores had a long history of weaponizing the HOA to settle personal vendettas. Rumor had it, she once fined a neighbor for aggressive wind chimes. But her issue with me wasn't just about Tucker. After digging around, I found out Dolores' son had a dishonorable discharge from the military, and the sight of a veteran with a service dog didn't sit well with her fragile pride. Over the next week, the citations multiplied like rabbits. Unapproved animal, unregistered security threat, barking during quiet hours. Tucker barked maybe once when a squirrel dive-bombed our fence. But facts didn't matter. Power did. Then, one morning, everything changed. It was sunny, peaceful, just another walk to the mailbox. Tucker walked beside me, vest on, leash secure. We rounded the corner near the community garden, and that's when I heard it. Fast footsteps behind the hedge. I barely turned when Dolores lunged out like a cartoon villain, arm extended, face twisted, and sprayed a stream of pepper spray straight into Tucker's eyes. He yelped, loud, the kind of sound that slices straight through your spine. He collapsed, pouring at his face, his breathing ragged. I dropped to my knees, trying to flush his eyes with water from my bottle, but he kept jerking, panicked. And Dolores, she just stood there, smirking. "Told you I'd deal with that mutt." I looked up, my hands shaking, not from fear, from rage. "You just committed a federal crime," I said. She laughed. "Please, I was defending myself." I pulled out my wallet and flipped it open. U.S. Department of Justice, Assistant U.S. Attorney. Her smirk disintegrated. The silence between us was electric. I could see it dawn on her what she'd just done. She stammered something, then turned and bolted like a raccoon caught red-handed. I rushed Tucker to the emergency vet. The damage was real. Chemical burns, corneal abrasions, but the prognosis was hopeful. With treatment, he'd recover. But this wasn't about recovery anymore. It was about accountability. When I got home, I pulled the security footage from my porch cam. Crystal clear view of Dolores leaping out. Pepper spray in hand, Tucker never even growling. I sent it to two people, the local police and my friend Miranda at the DOJ's ADA Enforcement Division. Within 48 hours, Dolores had federal agents at her doorstep. But of course, she didn't back down. No, Dolores doubled down. She posted a 2,000-word manifesto on the HOA forum, calling me a threat to the integrity of Rosewood Hills, and Tucker, an untrained animal, used for intimidation. She even attached blurry photos, trying to prove Tucker was charging her. He was mid-stride, probably sniffing a dandelion. The next HOA meeting was pure theater. I went, Tucker by my side, wearing protective goggles the vet gave us. Dolores tried to speak, but the room had turned. One neighbor stood up and said, "Dolores once tried to fine me for having garden gnomes that didn't match my shutters. Now she's attacking a disabled vet's service dog." We're done. Applause, real sustained applause. Then came the moment that cracked her delusion wide open. A fellow board member, an attorney, stood up and said calmly, "There's an active federal investigation into Mrs. Mason's conduct. If any of you think this ends with a newsletter apology, you're mistaken." Dolores turned pale. She tried to talk, but her words tangled in her mouth. The Queen had lost her crown, and the court wasn't far behind. A few weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Dolores walked in, dressed like Jackie Kennedy at a funeral. Her lawyer carried a sad little folder. The judge didn't waste time. She called it what it was: federal assault on a service animal, ADA interference, falsification of HOA procedures. The video played. The room was silent. You could feel the weight of it. Then came the vet's testimony, then two former board members, both of whom confirmed Dolores had plotted to get rid of the dog and accused me of faking PTSD for attention. Then Dolores took the stand. Big mistake. She painted herself as a misunderstood guardian of HOA virtue, rambling about dangerous breeds and online conspiracies. When she claimed the video was doctored, the prosecutor just smiled and pulled out timestamps and cloud logs. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. "Mrs. Mason," she said, "this was no misunderstanding. This was a targeted, malicious act. You will not walk away from this." Sentencing came fast. 7 years in federal prison. Minimum 5 served. $35,000 in restitution. 200 hours of mandatory community service in disability rights and animal welfare. And that was just the beginning. The civil suit came next. Emotional distress, veterinary bills, ADA violations. The settlement? $750,000. A portion from her personal assets. The rest from the HOA's liability insurance, triggering a full internal audit. Dolores's name was wiped from HOA records. Her house sold, her reputation beyond repair. But the best part wasn't the court victory. It was what came after. The neighborhood changed. People put up signs that said, "Tucker Strong." Kids drew pictures of him in superhero capes. The HOA approved a new dog park built on an unused lot and named it Tucker's Field. At the dedication, they unveiled a mural painted by local students. Tucker on a hill, sun behind him, and 3 words above: loyal, brave, beloved. I stood in the back, sunglasses on, trying not to cry. Tucker leaned against my leg, content, at peace. Sometimes, justice doesn't look like a courtroom or a jail sentence. Sometimes it looks like a golden retriever lounging in the sun, knowing he's finally safe. So tell me, have you ever had a run-in with an out-of-control HOA, or seen someone abuse their power under the guise of community rules? Drop your stories, thoughts, or even your dog's name in the comments below. Let's talk about it, because sometimes the only way to take back a neighborhood is to stand up with quiet strength and a very good dog.